Hello children, good morning. Now this is biology second revision class. In the last revision class we discussed the term 2 portion, that is for term 2 we have 3 lessons, chapters, is it not? Chapter 12 reproduction in plants and chapter 16 water a precious resource. Those 2 chapters we revised in the last video class, and today we are going to see the last chapter, that is chapter 17, forests our lifeline. This chapter we are going to revise now. So regarding forests, what do you understand? The green plants, tall trees, animals and birds living there, medicinal plants what we are getting, and some wild animals, then waterfalls, the pleasant things, the chirping sounds of birds, everything will come to our mind. The dense thick forest, people will not be living there. So these are the ideas that will come into our mind when we think of the word forest. So in this chapter we are going to learn about the forest, that is what are all the organisms, living organisms present there, how the forests help them, how these forests also survive. Like that, several details, why the forests are important in an ecosystem. Like that, several points we are going to discuss in this video class, revision class. First of all, hope you all remember what is a forest. What is a forest? It is nothing but large uncultivated piece of land. Large uncultivated piece of land, that is called forest. That means we, the human beings, we are not cultivating the forest, we are not growing the forest. It is a natural resource. It is a natural resource. See, we can produce an orchard. What is an orchard? The place where the trees are grown which give us the fruits. So that place is the orchard. And a garden. Like that, what we make them, we grow them. We make them to grow. Like it is, the forest is not such a place. It is a natural resource. That is a large uncultivated piece of land. That is called forest. And in these forests, what are all present? Very tall trees. And the trees will be grown so closer, and they will be dense in nature. Dense means what? Large number of trees grown in very closer. And many living organisms, different types of plants, herbs, shrubs, like that, climbers, which are all not available in the countryside. That and all will be available in the forest. So these are all the things what are all present in the forest. Then, and all these forests are of same type. On this earth, the forests are present in particular areas, and all the forests present are of not same type. They differ in their nature. The trees present in one forest may not be present in some other forest. The animals and plants seen in one forest will not be seen in another forest. These are because of the change in climate. The different climatic conditions leads to different types of trees or organisms present in the forest. According to the place where the forest is located, its nature will also differ. For example, evergreen forest. It is named so because the trees throughout the year will look green. Because different types of trees will be there, and all the trees will not shed their leaves at the same time. They will shed their leaves at different times. So always it will look green in nature, and the rainfall will also be heavy. The plants will be very fresh, looks green throughout the year. That is why it is called as evergreen forest. Then deciduous forest, temperate forest, tropical forest. So according to the zone or the place where they are present, they are vary in their nature, and the living organisms or the trees or plants also differ in different types of forests. Next, these forests, how they help us, how they are useful to human beings or other living organisms, how they are useful. They are useful for us or for other living organisms in many ways. What are they? First of all, they provide shelter. They provide shelter. Many living organisms live in forest, from unicellular to multicellular, very small to big animals. So the forests act as shelter. They provide food. They provide fuels, including fossil fuels also. They provide fossil fuels. Next, they act as habitat. The forests act as habitat. What is the difference between that shelter and a habitat? Shelter is nothing but the living place under which we live. It may be either a hut or a concrete building or some other thing, sheet, under a sheet, like that it may be. So under the trees also we may live. But habitat means the environment which is suitable to live. That is called habitat. The living place is called a habitat. It provides a habitat to various animals. And according to this habitat, different types of animals, such as bigger animals. What are all the bigger animals seen in forest? Like elephant, jackal, lion. Like that, different bigger animals will be seen deeper areas of forest. They are found in deeper areas of forest. We can't see often those animals in our countryside. Only if we enter a thick forest, we can see such a type of animals. So those animals, some animals, they live in deeper areas. So the animals differ in their habitat. And some animals, they may live on the trees. For example, birds, some reptiles and all, they may live on the trees. They won't come down, because all the things, whatever necessary for their life, will be available in the top portion of the trees itself. So such animals which live on the trees, branches of trees, are called arboreal animals. They are called arboreal animals which live on the trees. And different reptiles which wriggle on the floor. Wriggle means what? Moving in a zigzag movement, in a curved nature. That is called wriggle. Example, snake. That and all may crawl on the ground. So the animals, they according to their habitat also they differ. Next one, importance of forest. So now we saw about the useful things, how we are benefited because of the forest. Next one, importance of forest. How the forest is important to all living beings. Why is it important? That and all we are going to discuss. Importance of forest. How, in what way they are important? First and foremost thing, purifies air. They purifies air. In what way? The forest is also called as lung of the earth, because in our body, which purifies the air? Lungs. So in such a way, same way, the forest only purifies the air in the earth, for the whole earth. It purifies the air. So it is also called as lungs of the earth. Next, how it purifies? Lot of living organisms, they are living on this earth and they release carbon dioxide and they need oxygen to breathe. So what these plants do, they take in the carbon dioxide what we release in the daytime to prepare the food during photosynthesis, and what they give out, they release oxygen. So in this way they purifies the air. Also maintains or regulates temperature. Regulate temperature. In what way they regulate the temperature? They brings rainfall, or they absorb the underground water and they evaporate it through the leaves, and that water vapor condenses in the atmosphere and they brings the rainfall. So in this way, the heat is absorbed by the plants and they bring down the rainfall also, which cools the earth. So it helps us in the regulation of the temperature. Next one, brings rainfall. Now only I told that it absorbs the underground water. It makes it to evaporate through the leaves, and from the leaves the water vapor reaches the atmosphere and forms as cloud, and that cloud again it gives us the rain. So trees play an important role in bringing the rainfall. Next one, it replenishes the groundwater. Replenished groundwater. That means it maintains the groundwater level. How? During rain, the water enters into the earth through the soil. That is, it percolates into the soil particles. Drop by drop it will enter. And the root system absorbs the water and allow it to enter into the water table. Hope you all understand and remember what is water table, aquifer and all. So it helps the forest, that is the root system of the forest helps to absorb more water and allow that water to enter and store in the aquifers, that is the water surface under the ground. Because of this, the groundwater level is maintained. Next one, reduces soil erosion. Reduces soil erosion. As the trees are very closer in case of forest, the root systems are forming a network structure and it will catch hold the soil particles and it will not allow the soil particles to run off during the flood or during the rainfall. When the rain is heavy, the water flowing will not allow the soil to get eroded because the root system catch hold the soil particles. They keep the soil particles intact together. So in this way it helps in preventing the soil erosion and also flood. It prevents flood. If the root system is not there, what will happen? The water will not be absorbed in the underground and it will be flowing continuously, which causes the flood during the heavy rain. So it helps in prevention of flood also. Next one, enriches nutrients in soil. Enriches nutrients in soil. In case of forest, lot of dried leaves, twigs and all will wither off. Not only that, so many living organisms, animals are living there, birds. So their waste products, everything will fall down in the forest floor and what will happen? They and all will get decomposed and nutrient rich humus will be produced. Hope you all remember what is humus. Dark spongy layer on the surface of the forest floor is called humus. That is nothing but the decomposed particles of the dried leaves or whatever it is, fruits, whatever it is, and the animal waste, everything get decomposed by the organisms living in the forest floor because of the oxidation process. And this oxidation process, during this oxidation process, the heat will be liberated, released, which keeps this humus warm. As the heat is released, always that humus will be in warm condition and the nutrients will be formed. That is, during the decomposition, that gas will be released and the nutrients will be retained. Complex compounds will be broken down into simple forms and it will be again reach the soil itself and the nutrients will be maintained in the soil because of the formation of the humus. That is why the forest floor is nutrient rich. It enriches the nutrients in soil. Next, many useful products. We get many useful products. What are they? Honey, gum, resins, so many medicinal herbs, fuels, timber, wood. So like this, lot and lot of products we get from the forest, and these products, how we can't go and collect that. The people living in the forest area are called as tribal people. Those tribal peoples, they collect those products which are from the forest, and they sell that and they earn their money. So they help in the life of the tribal people also. Forest help the tribal peoples for their income. Understand? Next one, it acts as the camping sites, recreation place. It also acts as a recreation place, forests. So in these ways, the forests are very useful forests. These are the importance of the forests. Next one, we are going to see about the layers of forest. Already during the class, we discussed the different layers. Remember how this layer is formed? Hope you all remember how the layers are formed. As the trees are very tall in the forest, they form the canopy. What is that canopy? Remember? Top layer of trees. That is the part above the stem which forms the branches. This layer is called canopy. The top layer of the forest, the branchy part above the stem. So this is the trunk of a tree, or you may call it a stem part also. Above this, the branchy part of the tree is called canopy. And as the trees are very closer in the forest, sometimes it may be like this also. The branches are so closer and they form a roof-like structure. So where we are living, is the roof, is there any gap in between? If any gap is there, is it possible for us to live? No. So in the same way, in the forest also, the canopy forms the layer of the forest, and it is called as a roof of the forest. Canopy is called a roof of the forest. And the branchy part above the stem is called canopy, and this canopy differ in their size and shape. Some top layer of the trees will be in conical shape, some may be elongated, lengthy, some may be very branch, and some may be irregular, some may be round in structure. So like that they differ in their size and shape. This canopy differ in their size and shape. And next, below this canopy, different types of shrubs will also be present. Different types of shrubs, climbers, everything, and small herbs will also be present. So all these shrubs and herbs forms the understory. This is called as understory. The forest floor is also called as understory, where the humus and all will be present. Okay, next one. This living community. So in these type of forest, we studied about the different habitats. where the bigger animals, small, then reptiles or other aquatic animals, where they live, that and all we saw, is it not? Again, depending upon that, living community of forest are also there. What are those living community? The animals which eat only the plants are called as what? Herbivores. Then, which eat both the plants and animals? Omnivores. Next, which eat only the flesh of other animals? Carnivores. Is it not? Like this, the animals are classified. And these animals, or again it is divided into primary and secondary consumers. So you may call these herbivores as primary consumers, which they depend directly on plants for their life. Such animals are called as primary consumers. And these carnivores which depend on other animals are called as secondary consumers. So, depending upon the nature of their food habit also, they are classified as primary consumers and secondary consumers. Primary consumer means which directly depend on plants for their life. Secondary consumers means which depend on these primary consumers. Okay, so these are the living community. Not only this, saprotrophs. Saprotrophs means which depend on dead and decayed organisms. Which depend on dead and decayed organisms. They are called as saprotrophs. Then the last one, decomposers. What are the decomposers? Which decomposes all the waste and dead and decayed organisms are called decomposers. Then only the humus will be formed, which makes the soil fertile in case of forest. So these are the living communities of the forest: herbivores, omnivores, carnivores, saprotrophs and decomposers. Okay, next one, how these animals get their food. That is, the sequence of animals or the living organisms. The sequence of living organisms that depend on each other is called food chain. So, in this forest ecosystem, sequence of organisms that depend on each other. For example, simple example, plant or grass will be eaten by deer or rabbit or goat, whatever it is, any one herbivore. This will be eaten by lion or tiger. So, in this way, the order or the sequence in which an organism depends on another organism is called food chain. So, here the plant or grass comes under primary producers. Plants are always the producers on which all living organisms depend directly or indirectly on plants. Okay, now this goat is the primary consumer. Next, this lion is the secondary consumer. After death, this lion will be eaten by the hawk, or it will be decomposed. So this may be the tertiary consumer. Like this, the chain will be going on, or it will come to an end. Understand? So the sequence of living organisms that depend on each other is called food chain. Simple example, in this the plants forms the producers, goat primary consumer, lion secondary consumer. This may be eaten by hawk like this. Then interlink of food chain. So this is the example for a single food chain. Like this, several food chains are there in this ecosystem, and sometimes the food chains may be interlinked. So that interlink of food chain is called food web. The class itself I explained everything. So a frog may be eaten by a crow, or it may be eaten by an owl. Is it not? Then like this, several food chains. Plant may be eaten by a deer or rabbit or grasshopper, and this grasshopper may be eaten by a frog or by a cat or a dog, like that. So an organism will be eaten by so many organisms, and the many food chains will be interlinked. So interlink of food chain is called food web. Next one. So we discussed about the living community. Next, dependence of animals on plants. The dependence of plants on animals and dependence of human beings on plants. How all the living organisms depend on each other. That is what we are going to discuss next. So, the plants depend on animals for what? Carbon dioxide. Is it not? They need carbon dioxide for photosynthesis. So, they depend on animals for carbon dioxide. Next one, for pollination. What is that pollination? Transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma. So this is called pollination, and this is possible because of the animals. While an insect visits a flower, the pollen grains will get attached to the body of that insect, and when the insect visits the next flower, it will get deposited in that stigma of that flower, and the pollination occurs. Then some will have light seed pollen, lightweight winged pollen. So as it is having lightweight, it may be carried by the wind. So like that, for pollination they depend on animals. And another one, seed dispersal. After pollination, fertilization takes place, and after that from the matured fruit seed will be produced, and the seeds has to be dispersed. Sometimes some seeds will have spines, so it will get cling to that body of that animal or the human beings, and it will be dispersed to several places. So like this, the plants depend on animals for carbon dioxide, for pollination and seed dispersal. Next one, how the animals depend on plants. For what? For oxygen. Plants produce oxygen. For food. For shelter. Is it not? For medicinal purposes. So like this, in several ways, the animals also depend on plants. For protection, to hide themselves, the animals will go and enter into a bush. So to protect themselves, to hide themselves, they depend on plants. Next one, how humans depend on plants. So the same way, oxygen for food, for shelter, and for many products. For example, medicinal herbs, then honey, so many things, fuels, lot of things we get from the forest. So like this, the animals, plants and human beings depend on forest. Next one, conservation of forest. So the forest in our community, it plays an important role, and we have to take steps to conserve our forest in order to prevent flood, in order to replenish groundwater. We should avoid cutting down trees, and we have to take steps. For that, two movements are also there. Vanamahotsava and Chipko movement are there. Everything is created to create an awareness among the people. Is it not? So we should take steps to conserve the forests. So these are the points we discussed in this chapter 17. And I revised, and these three chapters, chapter 12, 16 and 17 are included for term 2. Okay, next we shall revise that pattern. Term 2 pattern, what they will ask and how you have to read and write. Now let us see the patterns for term 2 portion. Now, generally, if you understand the lesson well, and if you read the book back exercises or the worksheets, given worksheets and all thoroughly, if you understand, then it will be easy to answer the 1 mark. See, direct questions will not be asked in higher classes and all. So only if you understand the lesson properly, you will be able to answer all the 1 mark. So you thoroughly read the book back exercises and the given worksheets also. Whatever worksheets given, you should be thorough with that. And you revise the lesson, go through the lesson, open the book and read the lesson thoroughly and understand. So, fill-ups, true or false, unscramble the given words. So, some clue will be given, whether it is regarding that chapter name or the process name. Like that, some clues will be given. So, according to that clue, you have to think of that word. And after finding the answer, after writing the answer, you have to check whether the number of letters in the question and the answer is equal or not, because you might have made mistakes. You might have left 1 letter or 2 letters. So if you find the word, you write the answer, then you have to check whether the numbers of the letters are equal or not on both the sides. Next one, missing link. What is that missing link? For example, in the chapter forest, that food chain may be given, and in between the food chain, some words may be missing, and you have to think and you have to write that. Next one, match, then give 2 examples. Whatever related answer you may write, then answer the following, answer in detail. According to the marks, you have to write the points. If the diagram is possible, you have to draw and label. So whenever you draw with pencil and mark the parts with pencil, and you draw the lines for marking the parts using the ruler. Don't draw with your hands. It is not the proper way. And always mark the parts in one side. Don't draw around the diagram itself in all the direction. In one direction, equally you put the lines and you write the parts with pencil. Next, hearts. Whatever you understand, you may write your answer. Not the exact answer should be produced. Next one, mind map. Whatever mind map is given in the worksheets and all, you may read. So the same mind map will be asked, and in the higher classes you should be able to write the mind map of your own. So if you understand the concept, you may answer that mind map. And the last one is the draw and label. In this draw and label, the diagram in a water cycle may be asked, or in reproduction in plants, that anther and what is that, pistil may be asked, reproductive part of a flower. So like that, whatever possible diagrams are there, it may be asked. So according to the question, understand that and you write the answers very neatly. Be prompt in answering the questions. Don't copy down. You at least you may read and write the answers. If only the basics are strong, it will be easy for you to continue in the next year, because the basic is from this grade. Without reading this, you can't understand the next grade. So be proper in your studies. Thank you, children.